What up? This your girl Mariah. You're now tuned into Survival Kit the podcast. Today is February 24th, 2022. Today's episode was going to be slightly different. I had a whole different topic uh that I was going to discuss, but as we know, there is conflict in the Ukraine. From what I'm seeing on some journalist outlets, it's the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Or the Ukraine and Russia conflict. And somehow, some way, America always gets involved. We always play the big homie. So in this case, we are playing big homie to Ukraine. We kind of owe it to them as we've exchanged some things. We've gotten some defense equipment from them, and so in exchange, we offer some protection. Now they're pulling our card. It's time to pay up to what we owe. All right, so let's break it down. Today we're going to be talking about that conflict just a little bit. And then what does this mean for the small business owner? Y'all know I love to give encouragement, so I got to encourage y'all during this time. I'm sure y'all stressing out. You know, this ain't the first rodeo for a lot of us business owners. And so we know to keep pushing through trials, all right? You know, I like to do the quote of the day. The quote of the day today comes from a former Roman emperor, Marcus Aurelius. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. The nearer a man or woman comes to a calm mind, the closer they are to strength. That is today's quote of the day. Write it down, lock it in, keep it in your heart, all right? Because the calmer you are, the better you make business decisions. If you've been listening to this podcast, or if you went back and listened to a few episodes, you've heard me state multiple times this game is about chess, and you have to be able to make good decisions. And if you can't make a good decision because your mind is frazzled, that's bad for business. All right, business is how we feed our families. It's just how the world works at this point in time. It's been this way. It's always been about supply and demand. That's just how the world works, right? All right, so let's hop right into it. Let's give a little backdrop, and then we're going to get into what this means for the small business owner and some things to do pushing forward, okay? Because we're going to push forward. I come from humble beginnings, all right? I was definitely a Section 8 food stamp baby, and I'm here to where I am today, very proud of everything I've accomplished. So tough times make tough people, all right? So here we go. Let's get into it. What's going on in Ukraine? So just a backdrop. Back in the day, before I was even born back in the day, it was what's called the Soviet Union. Ukraine was a part of the Soviet Union. Ukraine then dropped out of the Soviet Union around 91, 92, and has been its own, I would say, vulnerable sovereign state since then. When you don't have any type of backing, you don't got no big home. You know that one person in the hood, they just kind of walk around on their own. They just on their own. They cool with some folks, but they just on their own. And then they get into it with somebody. It's kind of like, who do you call, right? That's basically where Ukraine is. All right, so Russia is kind of I want to say Russia is on one. Like they are playing bully ball right now, and they got some powerhouses behind them, aka China, aka everybody owe me money. All right, so I'm just saying, China. Just a side note, China is the biggest holder of American bonds. And a lot of countries owe China money. So that should just give you some backdrop on who Russia's big homie is, okay? And think about the population of people China has. Yeah, China is definitely the big homie of Russia in this instance. So Ukraine and Russia, they're not really feeling each other right now. Obviously, if you've been paying attention to the news, around the early 2000s, Ukraine showed interest in joining NATO. They also wanted to be a part of the European Union. Russia was like, you know what? Nah, it's not happening. You're not about to join NATO. And on top of that, joining NATO is not as easy as signing up and signing some paperwork saying, hey, I want to be a part. And NATO's like, yo, come on, we got you. It's not that simple. All right, so ever since they've expressed interest, it's just been difficult for them to kind of hop in, getting into the mix. However, again, U.S. has been a big homie, and we got some defense weapons, equipment from them. We offered them some protection. Now Ukraine needs our protection, so we gotta get involved at this point. You ever tell somebody, yo, if you ever need me, call me. Trust me, I got you. If you need me, call me. And then they finally call you, but they actually really, really need you. That's exactly what's going on right now. All right. So what does this mean? It's back to those good old resources, all right? They're not making any more land, okay? No one's making any more land. If anything, they're just going to continue to fight over land. People have been fighting over land since the beginning of time. That's exactly why wars occur. If you think of any type of war that occurs, there's some type of involvement of the land, the territories. They're always fighting over something. All right, so Ukraine is top 5 DOA. You heard it here first. Ukraine, when it comes to these resources, is top 5. Defense equipment, potato production, uranium, titanium, iron, black soil. I want to say they manufacture rockets. They had their first. I want to say their first, in the world for usable land. This is all the things that you can Google. You can look all of this up. A lot of this I learned in my business coursework, in my grad studies. We were learning about business and the economy. My economy courses were very, very intense, and you always got to stay up to date. No matter what you learn in school, make sure you're staying up to date, taking some new courses, getting up on the news. A lot of things get updated, but some things stay the same, all right? So, again, Ukraine is top 5 DOA. Look this up. They have nothing but popping natural resources. Everybody wants a piece, and y'all know how America feel about their oil, all right? So, Russia basically is trying to take over. They want their Moscow wants to take over. They declare, "Hey, yo, we stepping in there. We coming in." Ukraine like, nah. So Russia sent some folks to the border. Ukraine called us up, let us know, yo, they at the border. What we gonna do? So Biden, our president, basically let Russia know it's in your best interest if you back off. Russia said, "Oh yeah." And so here we are. So Russia sent some fire, and and as you know, China flew some things over Taiwan today. Again, today's February the 24th. You can look all of this up in the news. I will look in the world news. Do not look at your local news. World news gives a world perspective. This is becoming a world war. All right? A lot of people are calling it World War III. So, now that the U.S. is involved, what does that mean? Well, if you haven't known, oil is traded, is bought with the petrodollar. If in my, I'm foreshadowing this, all right? So this is just my prediction. If the petrodollar gets, you know what, we ain't doing that, right? If they like, you know what, we don't want to buy oil with the petrodollar. We want to buy it with crypto. What does that mean? That means a lot, okay? That means if you thought inflation was bad right now, it's going to be a lot worse, okay? All right, so let's get into it. What does that mean for the small business owner? Right now, the magnitude of it all is very unclear. A lot of people really don't know where this is going because it's still the beginning. All of this just happened within a few days, right? We were just all hype about 2022. You know what I'm saying? We was all just hype about that. In America, I got a few listeners from different countries. Shout out to y'all. I think that's high. I was looking at my analytics one day. I'm like, yo, it's people listening from all over the world. This is crazy. So shout out to y'all. Um, yeah, over this past weekend, it was All Star Weekend. Everybody was tuned into that. Y'all know how serious we take our sports in the United States. We take basketball, NBA, NFL very, very serious. So we were all tuned into that. So I feel like we kind of haven't been paying attention to what's really been going on. At least my generation. I'm a research and news junkie, especially when it comes to business news. So I've been keeping my eye on this issue for a while now. So I knew it was coming, just wasn't sure when. And again, if you think about it, every time there's some type of crisis, corporations make bank. Okay? Go back in history. Do your research. Go back through history. Think about all the recessions and the depressions. And think about, I would say, research a few years prior to when those times occurred. And look at the businesses that were around and think about how they've made their money. Right? Or think about how much money they made prior to a great depression, prior to a great recession, and a great pandemic, a great market crash, because it was a great deal of turmoil going on. Okay, so we call it a pandemic. To me, this is a similar, very very similar and look to recessions and depressions. All right. So if you think about it during that time, you can always go back through the history banks and see what businesses survived during those times. And in my opinion, I just found a few things in common with all the businesses and things that they did. All right. So first things first, they found the need in their community. You have to look around and think of the needs in your community. I touched on this before in prior episodes. There's always some type of need. Somebody needs something. And because of that, you have to be able to really become creative as a business owner. Um, I think that it's best to always, when things like this happen, it's best to keep calm and keep moving, right? I like to equate things like this to a loss or a death. It does take over. You can become paralyzed with those type of losses in life. However, life moves on without you. Unfortunately, life does not stop because you have experienced a loss. So when these type of situations occur, I think it's always best to keep calm and move forward and understand the finding the need in your community. I would also highly suggest schooling yourself on crypto. Join some classes. There's great influencers online who discuss crypto and how to get involved with it and the blockchain, NFTs and stocks and all of those kind of things. I think that now is, if you were so opposed to it before, I think now is the time to really dive into it. I think crypto is about to take over as a top currency. The the dollar, it does have some value. The dollar still has some value. I do think, though, at this point, this is, in my opinion, you just have to be predictive of the things that's going on in business. And in my opinion, I do believe that this is a perfect time for crypto to get ushered in, to take over. It'll be easier to exchange with different countries. Right now you got the yen, you got the euro, you got the dollar, you got the peso, you got all these kind of different things. um, Crypto is universal. Crypto can be traded, using the blockchain, and you don't have to go through all this other stuff. There is no need for the middleman. Again, think about oil and how it has to be bought with the petrodollar. So if they can cut out the middleman and use it by buying crypto, buy it by using crypto, think about how easy that will become. All right. So something else that you want to think about during this time is that cyber attacks may be up on the rise. And as we know, Russia is very good with their cyber ways, right? So I don't want to be the political person. This is just something, as a business owner, you do need to be mindful of. You have online banking. I use digital banking. I was having some hard time getting in with traditional banking as a business owner. I'm very into forward thinking and forward mobility, so I did want to move forward with some digital banking. So I have a lot of digital banking. Everything's online nowadays. So if we get attacked, like a cyber attack, do you know what that will mean for a lot of business owners? E-commerce. A lot of people don't have brick and mortar stores anymore. My business, is not a physical location. Everything I do is through e-commerce. So that will definitely be something to pay attention to. These are all the things that I do believe, as a business owner, you need to be paying attention to, especially with what's going on right now with the Ukraine and Russia conflict, especially because the United States is getting heavily involved in this. We had just, if you've been paying attention to the news, we sent over some of our soldiers to NATO territory, because it's, I'm trying to tell y'all, Russia is playing bully ball, and they got their big homie China ready to ride, okay? So that's something that you need to pay attention to. My biggest thing, however, right now is production. What does that mean for production? Oh God, we ship a lot of our things. We import. American businesses import so much. Um, a lot of our goods are imported. There we don't really have as much natural resources as other places in the world. So a lot of the things that we have are imported. I know for Custom Clip Rugs, shout out to Custom Clip Rugs, shameless plug. A lot of the things that I order for to make the rugs, those things are imported. Now I might be able to pick them up from my local stores. However, those local stores import them from somewhere. Those things are not, a lot of the things that I use are not being made in America. So that's something to keep in mind. That means, to me, that means if production is slow, that means shipping will be slow. And with oil, I want to say to hit $105 a barrel. Yeah, that's why gas prices are high. I just posted on my story on IG this morning. I went and got my wife some gas before she headed out to work, and it was about $50. Now she has a regular size car, and I cannot remember the last time I spent $50 to fill up her tank. I want to say it was probably at the beginning of the pandemic, when gas prices they were kind of going crazy. That was probably the last time I spent $50 to fill her up. So when I seen it this morning, I was like, "Well, god damn, like what is going on?" And Supreme, if your car takes Supreme, Lord be with you. I hope you got a boo that, you know what I'm saying, can help you out with that, cause that's something else. And this is just in Philadelphia. Okay, I'm in Philly, and then Philly gas prices is crazy. For plus is over $4. Regular is hitting $4. So I know in other parts of the country, especially in California, gas is through the roof, right? Because of that oil. So we're going to be seeing a lot of inflation. And when inflation comes, what does that mean for us, the small business owner? That means consumers ain't going to be consuming as much, right? Now, the good thing is everything has gone digital thanks to the pandemic. A lot of people are at home and they're working things out at home. So a lot of people are saving money. So again, it's up to you to find the need during this time. You got to be paying attention to what the people need at this time. Maybe some of your products aren't going to be necessary. You might have to shift the way that you do things. So I always like to say it's time to pivot. Go back through some previous episodes. I touched on this about pivoting during business. Sometimes it's not the time to sell, to sell doggy treats. It might be the time to sell dog food, because everybody loves their dogs, and I know I love mines, and dogs, they gotta eat too. So selling treats, that's something, that they might not really like, but selling dog food, a simple mix of dog kibbles, you know, that might be good. Now again, that's just an example. If you're into that industry, if you sell clothing, you might not be able to sell high end luxury, brand. That might not be the way that you can go with your brand. You might not be able to sell a luxury item. You might have to double down. You might have to figure out, okay, what do the people actually need? Americans buy household products, I want to say, every month. So I'm talking about soaps, dish detergent, paper towel, all that kind of stuff, a clothing detergent. These are some of the industries that you might want to pay attention to during this time. um, you know, Finding the need. That's the biggest thing that I'm touching on right now. Because of everything that's going on, you want, as the business owner, you're going to have to find what's necessary if you want to stay in business. All right, now we can always double down and say, you know what, this ain't for me. It's a war going on. I'm just going to chill and wait this thing out. And that's perfectly fine if that's what you want to do. For me and mine, though, we're going to find a need, right? We're going to push through this thing. So, again, some things that you want to pay attention to is finding the need in your community. Learning about crypto, I really have a big, big, big gut feeling that crypto is about to take over. So if you're not informed about crypto, you should get informed about crypto. Educate yourself on the blockchain. It's time to up the ante. All right. You can't conduct business as normal. We're not living in normal times. So if you thought the pandemic was bad, I just want to say I think we're going to be in what feels like the pandemic for much longer. A lot of people, from what I'm reading, some journalists, they do believe we're going into a recession. And I can see that coming. So that's something that you want to pay attention to. So what I would do in the meantime is look up some businesses who have surpassed, who have gone through different parts of, of life. Um, as we know it, they've gone through depressions and recessions and the market crash and the pandemic. And look at those businesses and see how they've done, seeing how they fare. You can always go and look up on Yahoo Finance. You can look up their their annual reports and see how they fare throughout the years. You can go back a certain amount of years and see how they've done. I would highly suggest that you do that just so that you can inform yourself. All right. And again, understand that the production times, I do believe, will be slow. Now, right now, we're not feeling the full brunt of what's going on in Ukraine. But I do believe coming up, we are going to be feeling it. All right. So production times will probably be much slower like they were in the beginning of the pandemic. Oil prices will be going up, which means the cost to ship your items out to consumers, your customers, your clients is probably going to be a little bit more if you're in the service based industry, if you sell products to go along with the services that you sell, things like that. We're going to be seeing some slowdowns. I do believe that. And that oil, that's something that's a big key thing to pay attention to. We're very heavily based. We have a big oil need in the United States. So that's something, it's our energy. That's something that you want to pay attention to. All right. So again, Ukraine and Russia conflict is definitely going to affect the small business owner. Please don't think that you're exempt from this. You're definitely going to be feeling the brunt of this sooner or later. All right. So again, it's your girl Mariah. You're tuned into Survival Kit the podcast. Thank you so much for listening.